Howdy folks, Sam here. I do hope you're well. Alright, today is the big day. We're going to look at bending notes on the harmonica. If you're not familiar with what that sounds like, it's this sound here. You can hear that on the inhales from holes 1 to 6, I'm pulling the reed and I'm bending it down either a semitone, or on hole 3 I can bend it down 3 semitones. You get 3 whole new notes that you couldn't otherwise get on the harmonica. And this is really a sort of a big step for beginners. This determines whether you're going to really stick with this instrument or whether you're going to just chill and have some fun with it like Bob Dylan in the background there. But yeah, in all seriousness, bending notes, some people are going to get it instantly. Some people it might take you a few weeks or even a few months. I remember when I started playing when I was about 12, 13, it took me about a month to get it. And finally, on the 6th draw one sunny morning, I was able to bend a note. So I'm going to structure this lesson like I said previously. I'm going to talk a little bit about the theory and the method of what's going on, how we bend notes, why we can bend notes theoretically. And then we're going to do a little practice regime over a 12-bar structure like we've been doing. And then I'm going to finish the video and you guys can go back, play some songs that you already know and just have fun with the instrument, maybe even start improvising. Okay, so in terms of music theory, I hope you've been keeping up with your music theory and that you're familiar with the phrase of intervals. Intervals, for very quick rundown, is the space between two notes. So like C to D is a tone, C to E flat, minor third to E, major third, so on and so forth. Those terms shouldn't be too difficult for you to get your head around, but don't worry, they're not hugely important. As always with music theory, it sounds more complicated than it actually is. And we've spoken in previous lessons on how the harmonica is built. So the middle of the harmonica, we've got our scale and we've got the intervals at play for a scale. And down on the first 3 holes, we've got those 2 chords, the 1 and the 5 chords, and the intervals down there are built for those. We're able to bend notes because of the disparity between breathing out and the note achieved and breathing in and the note achieved. And by bending a note, we're able to take that inhaled note and we're able to pull it down to the note that we're missing in an interval. Yes, Miss Piscat. What I mean by that is that if I play, for example, C to D on the 4 blow and draw, the missing note in between there is C sharp, and I'm able to get that note by bending down to it. Let's start from the 1 blow. It's the same 2 notes, just down an octave. If I look at the 2 hole, it's an interval of E on the blow and G on the draw. The missing 2 notes are F and F sharp between that interval, and I'm able to get it by bending at various stages on that draw too. On the 3 hole is G to B, that's the interval of a major third, and I'm able to get B on the straight draw, then B flat, A, and A flat, or G sharp. On the 4 we just did. On the 5 is an interesting one because blow is an E and draw is an F. So that's an interval of a semitone. There's nothing in between. I can still bend that F for effect. And on the 6th blow is a G and the 6th draw is an A, and I can get A flat or G sharp in between as well. So that's all very interesting and everything, but how am I doing it? How am I making the reed pull down and bring the note down either a semitone, a tone, or even a minor third? Well, it goes back to your embouchure and sort of what's happening inside in terms of your diaphragm, your lungs, your throat, and your tongue and your oral cavity, which is just a funny word to say. When I'm inhaling, when I'm drawing, all those things are working together. If you talk to a trumpet player about embouchure, they talk about how everything is set, and when they put the instrument to their lips, they're ready to go and hit the note that they want. It should really be the same on the harmonica, and the reason a lot of beginners often struggle with notes like the 2 draw is because that all isn't functioning yet. That's just ready to go because everything else is set and ready to go. And I'm not using a hell of a lot of air or breath to do this. And when I'm bending notes, I'm not using an increase in air at all. What I'm doing is I'm changing the pressure of air in my mouth. I'm pulling my tongue either up or normally back towards the back of my throat, my esophagus. And that changes the pressure of air that is being directed or pulled through the reeds. And that causes this bend. It's a very difficult thing to show you physically because it's going on inside my mouth. But if I take the 4 draw, for example, my tongue is flat on the base of my mouth there. When I bend the note, I'm pulling it back up. If I'm doing a more difficult, well, not necessarily more difficult, but more staggered bend, like on the 3 draw, where I've got 3 notes I can hit, I'm pulling my tongue up at different degrees and holding it there, allowing air to pull through at the same time and achieving different notes. So yeah, a little bit convoluted, and it will be a bit of a hurdle for you. This is the first, well, probably the major thing that you've got to jump over. And then after that, it's gravy again for another few lessons, and you can really start to get into the blues. I mean, people use bent notes to give you, well, for 2 reasons. One, it gives you a whole host of new notes on the harmonica, and it makes it almost a chromatic instrument, meaning that you can play in practically any key. The other reason is it gives you that fantastic bending effect. You know, guitarists bend strings not necessarily to hit the note, but because it sounds cool. You know, that is the sound of the blues, right? Is bending notes. One more tip for you guys is when we're bending notes and we're trying to achieve notes, it's good to use a guitar tuner. This one's picking up my voice and telling me that I can't sing or speak in tune. But use this to see how you're actually bending a note and whether you're bending to pitch accurately. You don't have to spend money on these. You can get free apps on your mobile phones, guitar tuners, instrument tuners. I would show you the ones I use, but I'm using my phone to record, so there you go. So stop the video there and take as much time as you need just getting those bent notes. I recommend you start on the 4 draw or the 6 draw. Those are probably the easiest notes to bend at the beginning. And once you've got a feel for what you're actually doing, what your embouchure is doing, then you can try it on holes 2, 3, 1, and so on and so forth. But yeah, that 6 draw is a pretty good one. And then 4 draw. 2 and 3 are a bit more complicated because there's more than one note you can bend to, but you'll get there with practice. And like I say, use a tuner to see what notes you're bending to. It's a hell of a lot of fun. Okay, so assuming you've stopped the video, you've taken some time, and you've got those bent notes down, I'm going to give you a very quick blues exercise over a 12 bar like we've been doing, so you can have fun on a rhythm part and get used to some of the sounds that this opens up for you. And we're going to start with the playing over the G chord, the 1 chord, and we're going to do 2 draw. We're going to play something like this. Rest. And that's going to be a 2 bar phrase that we're going to repeat twice for those first 4 bars. So I'm doing a 2 draw, 2 draw blow, 2 draw bend down to F, back up to G for 2, and then rest. Now it's significant that I'm playing G to F because F is the dominant 7th of G and it gives you that bluesy tone. And you're probably familiar with that phrase. Muddy Waters uses a similar phrase with his harp players in several of his songs. It sounds similar to I'm Ready. I'm Ready is a little bit different, but yeah. So we're going to repeat that 2 bar phrase twice for those first 4 bars. So it's going to sound like this. Rest. For our 4 chord, our first change, it's probably the most difficult thing we're going to do. We're going to do blow 4. We're going to do the same rhythm pattern, but we're going to do a semitone bend on the 3 draw. So it's going to... Getting that single semitone bend accurately is probably going to be the most difficult thing, but it's really worth practicing, and like I say, use a tuner. And again, that's significant because that's playing C to B flat, and B flat is the 7th of C. So again, we're getting that 7th chord in there. And then, as you know, we go back to the first chord for 2. And that's our middle 4 bars of the 12-bar blues. So I'll play that all through for you so you know what you're doing. Last 4 bars, the turnaround. We're going to go to the 4 draw, as I'm sure you're expecting. And a semitone step bend. And release back up. And then that 4 draw phrase, just the first bar. And then for the 1 chord and a turnaround, we're going to go. So that was the 1 chord, which you already knew. But then we're playing that turnaround I showed you in the last lesson. So we're going 2 draw, 2 blow, 1 blow, and 1 draw, which is a classic turnaround there. So we'll put that all together and it should sound something like this. Remember to keep the rests in there. It gives you a chance to breathe and recover. 1, 2. There you go, great stuff. That's a huge hurdle that you've just gotten over. And now you're playing the 7ths on the 1 and 4 chords, which is great. Those notes are so important for improvising over the blues. And once, as your confidence in bending grows, we can do so much more fun things, which we'll talk about more in the next lesson. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope it wasn't too convoluted for you. As always, if it is a bit difficult, just send me an email. If I can answer it quickly, I'll do it for nothing. If you need a sit-down lesson, we can sort that out. Like, subscribe, support my channel, donate me money, and all the rest of it. And I'll see you in a lesson soon. Take care, guys.